Imagine standing on the banks of the Nile River, right? Like 5,000 years ago.
Yeah.
You look up and that burning disk in the sky, it isn't just a ball of gas to you.
Yeah, definitely not. It's a living, breathing God.
Exactly. It is the literal embodiment of light, warmth, and the growth of your crops. And even more crucially, it's the ultimate daily weapon against total, terrifying chaos.
The psychological weight of that perspective is just immense. I mean, to the ancient Egyptians, the sun didn't just passively track across the sky while people went about their day. It was actively fighting for its life.
Wow. So if it loses.
Right. If that sun didn't rise, the universe didn't just get dark. It literally ceased to exist.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at a massive stack of sources today for this deep dive. We've got mythological texts, historical analyses, archaeological records,
All centered on one of the most powerful and enduring figures in human history.
the ancient Egyptian sun god Ra. And our mission today is to understand how this one deity shaped an entire civilization's politics, their architecture, and daily life. And, how his legacy still deeply influences our modern world right now.
So the story begins before time itself, in a state of absolute nothingness. But the Egyptians conceptualized this not as an empty void, but as a formless, infinite, dark ocean of primordial chaos. They called it none.
None, okay.
Yeah, there was no land, no sky, no light, just this swirling, churning potential. And from this infinite watery abyss, Ra simply willed himself into existence as the self-created one.
It's striking how closely that mirrors our modern understanding of the Big Bang Theory, honestly.
Oh, totally.
Just that spontaneous creation of structure, matter, and light bursting out of absolute, unfathomable nothingness.
Right, and the mechanism of that myth draws directly from the Egyptians' own environment. Every year, the Nile River would flood its banks, covering the land in dark water.
Yeah, and then it leaves the mud behind, right?
Exactly. When those floodwaters receded, they left behind incredibly fertile black mud. And out of that seemingly chaotic mud, new plant life would spontaneously sprout.
So they basically scaled that real-world observation up to a cosmic level.
That's it. Ra is that original spark of life emerging from the dark waters. He stood on a primordial mound that rose from none, and he began generating the physical dimensions of the universe, starting with Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture.
So he creates the atmosphere and the physical space for a world to exist. But the creation of humanity is the part of this origin story that completely stopped me in my tracks.
With a really beautiful detail.
It is, because Ra doesn't sculpt humans out of clay or conjure them with a thunderbolt. The texts say that Ra was looking at his creation and he wept. His tears hit the earth and turned into the first human beings.
Now, there is a variant involving drops of blood from when he cut himself. But the tear narrative is profoundly significant. It ties directly into the core philosophy of ancient Egypt, which is Ma'at.
Right, the concept of divine order and truth.
It's exactly. Balance and justice. Ra wasn't just an architect. He was the first champion of order over chaos. The idea that humanity was born from his emotional response, whether it's tears of joy at the perfection of Ma'at or tears of sorrow at its fragility, it suggests that humans are intimately bound to this divine order.
It is a heavy realization to think your entire species is just the physical manifestation of a god's emotional overwhelm.
Yeah, you aren't an afterthought. You are a direct expression of the creator's soul.
And that creator is most famously depicted as a man with the head of a falcon, wearing a massive radiant solar disk. And wrapped around that disk is the Uraeus, the sacred rearing cobra.
Right, acting as a divine bodyguard for the sun itself.
But sitting on a throne wearing a cobra crown was only a fraction of his responsibility. Creating the universe is one thing, but keeping it running every single day is another.
Yeah, it required constant movement. The sky was perceived as a massive celestial river, so Ra traveled across the heavens daily in a divine boat called the Bark of Millions of Years.
And this wasn't just like a scenic cruise. The boat literally changed its name and function based on the sun's trajectory.
It did. In the morning, as it gained altitude, the boat was Majid, meaning becoming strong.
And then as the day waned and lost heat, it became Samtet, meaning becoming weak. And Ra himself was shape-shifting to match this cycle, right?
The visual theology here is incredibly layered. At dawn, Ra manifested as Khepri, depicted as a scarab beetle.
A dung beetle.
Yes. To an ancient observer, scarabs seemed to spontaneously emerge from the earth, pushing these balls of dung. Because scarabs lay their eggs inside those spheres, the emergence of new life from the dirt was a perfect natural mechanism to explain the sun rising from the horizon.
Spontaneous, self-generated renewal.
Exactly.
Right. So morning Ra is the scarab pushing the day forward. Noon Ra is Ra Harakti, the classic falcon-headed god at the peak of his majestic power. And evening Ra, as the light fades, becomes Atum, depicted as an aging, ram-headed man.
And the choice of the ram for the evening form is highly intentional. The ram was associated with the Ba, the aspect of the soul that could travel between the physical world and the afterlife.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was also a potent symbol of fertility. So as the sun sets and Ra becomes this tired, ram-headed figure, he's preparing his soul to fertilize the underworld, ensuring that life can be renewed the next morning.
But clocking out and heading into the underworld was terrifying. Like, when that ram-headed god descends into the dark, things get incredibly dangerous. Nut, the sky goddess, essentially swallows the sun.
And Ra's boat has to navigate a hostile environment teeming with the remnants of that original primordial chaos.
The underworld was a continuous, high-stakes war zone.
Completely. The undisputed champion of that chaos was Apophis, or Apep, a giant, terrifying serpent whose singular goal was to devour Ra,
Just eat the sun god.
capsize the bark of millions of years, and plunge the world back into eternal darkness. Sunrise was never guaranteed for the Egyptians. It was a hard-fought victory that had to be won every single night.
Which brings us to a detail in the myth that seems like a massive paradox to me.
Oh, about his crew.
Yes, to fight this giant serpent of uncreation, Ra brings a crew of deities on his boat, and his heavy hitter, the enforcer at the front of the boat, is Seth.
Right.
But Seth is the Egyptian god of chaos, storms, and disorder. Wait, so Ra, the ultimate champion of order, has to team up with Seth, the god of chaos, to defeat a different monster of chaos.
It seems wild, I know.
Why rely on chaos to fight chaos? It feels like fighting a forest fire by dropping a nuclear bomb on it.
What's fascinating here is that it requires a shift in how we perceive duality. The Egyptian worldview didn't operate on strict modern concepts of good versus evil.
Okay.
They saw opposing forces as deeply necessary cogs in the machinery of balance. Seth represents controlled, directed chaos. He's the violent storm that breaks a drought.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he's the harsh, unforgiving desert that protects Egypt's borders from foreign invaders.
Yeah.
Apophis, conversely, represents total uncreation, the endless destructive void that wants to unravel existence itself.
Ah, so it's the difference between a controlled demolition and sheer annihilation.
Precisely that. Ra needs the aggressive, unpredictable, violent energy of Seth to counter the overwhelming gravity of the void.
That is brilliant.
And we scale this up to the human experience. This daily victory over Apophis provided immense psychological comfort. It symbolized the precarious cycle of life, death, and rebirth.
Because death wasn't an abrupt, terrifying end for them.
Right, it was a perilous transformation, a journey through your own personal underworld that was absolutely required in order to experience a new dawn.
So every sunrise was a visual reminder that you could survive the darkness. That is a beautiful way to interpret the cosmos. But the sources highlight that while Ra was busy fighting giant serpents in the afterlife, his time up on Earth was full of massive vulnerabilities.
Oh, definitely.
Specifically, a rebellion from the very humans he cried into existence.
The Supreme Creator was surprisingly susceptible to earthly troubles. According to the text, Ra ruled directly over the earth as a god-king for a long time. But just like his daily form of Adam, Ra grew old.
The sources say his bones turned to silver, his flesh to gold, and his hair to lapis lazuli.
Right, and the humans see their god-king getting frail, and they decide it's time to overthrow him.
Which is an incredibly bold move against the entity that literally willed the universe into being.
It's pure hubris. And Ra's response is the myth of the distant goddess, and it is devastating.
Furious at humanity, Ra removes his own eye. The Eye of Ra, which operates as an independent, sentient entity personified as the goddess Hathor.
And he sends her to Earth to punish the rebels. But once she begins the slaughter, the taste of blood triggers a transformation.
The gentle Hathor becomes Sekhmet.
Yes, a savage, unstoppable lioness goddess. She completely loses control, massacring humans by the thousands and wading through their blood.
Here's where it gets really interesting. She goes completely rogue. Ra realizes she's going to exterminate the entire human race.
But he can't overpower her physically.
Right, so he orders his priests to brew 7,000 jugs of beer, and he dyes the beer blood red with ochre.
He floods the fields with it.
Sekhmet, assuming it's a massive lake of human blood, gorges herself on it. She gets absolutely ridiculously drunk, passes out, and when she wakes up, the bloodlust is gone.
She reverts back to Hathor.
The red beer trick is basically the ultimate cosmic hangover cure that literally saved the human race.
It's hilarious, but beneath the vivid, almost comical surface of that story lies a harsh ecological reality.
Oh, how so?
Well, the sun is the ultimate life giver, warming the soil for agriculture. But in the Egyptian climate, the sun is also a deadly, scorching force.
The desert heat.
Exactly. A relentless summer brings drought, famine, and death in the desert. Sekhmet represents that destructive, unyielding aspect of solar radiation. The myth perfectly encapsulates their lived reality. The source of all life is also the greatest threat to it.
It's the duality of the nurturing light versus the scorching heat. And this isn't the only time Ra's vulnerabilities are exposed. There is another major myth that shows how physical supreme power can be completely subverted.
And it involves magic, saliva, and the goddess Isis.
Yes, the myth of the secret name.
So this myth explores the Egyptian concept of Heka, or magic. In their theology, true power resided in a secret name, a word that contained the absolute unvarnished essence of a being's soul.
And Ra possessed a hidden name that gave him absolute supremacy, known to no one but himself.
Right, but Isis, the goddess of magic, wants that supreme power to make her son Horus the king of the gods. She observes that Ra is aging significantly.
As he takes his daily walk, his head shakes and he drools.
Yeah, his divine saliva falls into the dirt. Isis takes that mud, shapes it into a venomous serpent, and leaves it on Ra's path.
That is so cunning, because when the snake bites him, the venom is made from his own divine essence.
Exactly, which means his standard healing powers are entirely useless against it. The texts describe him suffering from intolerable, agonizing pain.
His jaw chatters, his limbs shake. The other gods are powerless to help him.
Isis steps forward and offers to cure him, but she sets a non-negotiable condition. The spell will only work if he reveals his secret name to her.
It is literal cosmic extortion.
It really is. And the pain is so severe that Ra eventually breaks. He allows Isis to search his soul and extract the hidden name.
She steals his ultimate power, cures him, and effectively forces him to abdicate the throne to Horus. The supreme creator of the universe is defeated by his own drool and a clever intellectual trap.
It reveals a fascinating dimension of ancient theology. The supreme creator was bound by the natural laws of aging and suffering. But more importantly, it demonstrates that sheer physical power and divine authority can be hacked by the mastery of hidden knowledge.
Intellect and magic could topple the highest possible authority in the universe.
Exactly. And if the supreme god's power could be stolen through a secret name, the mortal pharaohs down on Earth realized they had to bulletproof their own authority against similar tricks.
Right, they had to figure out a way to weave themselves into Ra's undeniable cosmic legacy to solidify their absolute control over the people.
The integration of myth and statecraft was just seamless. Beginning prominently in the 5th dynasty, around the 25th century BC, Egyptian pharaohs officially adopted the title Son of Ra.
They genetically branded themselves to the sun.
It was the ultimate political mandate. By declaring themselves the literal earthly embodiment of Ra, the pharaohs took on his cosmic responsibility.
Their job was to maintain Ma'at and uphold order against chaos on Earth, just as Ra fought Apophis every night.
Yes, so defying the pharaoh was no longer just a civil crime. It was an act of cosmic treason.
Because if you rebelled against the king, you were actively siding with the chaos serpent. You were attempting to unmake the world.
Precisely. And they altered the entire architectural landscape of Egypt to reflect this. Pharaoh Userkaf built the first massive temple dedicated specifically to Ra at Abusir.
But the mechanism of these solar temples was totally distinct from how the Egyptians worshipped other gods.
Yeah, traditional Egyptian temples, like those at Karnak, were designed around dark, enclosed, highly secretive inner sanctuaries. The statue of the god was kept in absolute darkness, only seen by high priests.
But a god of light cannot be contained in a dark room.
Right. The architecture of solar temples featured massive open-air courtyards centered around a large obelisk.
And they didn't even put a physical statue of Ra in the center.
They didn't need to. The architecture was engineered so that physical, unhindered sunlight would pour into the space and strike the altar.
The light itself, the tangible heat and brightness, was the physical manifestation of the god washing over the worshippers.
It was a visceral experience.
Yeah.
And as Egyptian history progressed, Ra didn't just stay a standalone solar deity. He morphed and absorbed the competition.
Yeah, as the city of Thebes rose to immense power during the New Kingdom, they had their own local patron god, Amun. Amun was a god of the air, of the hidden, invisible forces of existence.
And the priests orchestrated one of the most brilliant religious and political maneuvers in history. They merged Amun, the hidden force of the wind, with Ra, the visible force of the sun.
They created Amun-Ra.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate divine corporate merger. You take two incredibly powerful regional heavyweights and you fuse them into an unstoppable macro deity that unites the entire empire culturally and politically.
Amun-Ra becomes the undisputed state god, and this solar supremacy was so deeply rooted in the culture that even when radical disruptive changes occurred, Ra's iconography survived. Look at the heretic king Akhenaten.
Oh yeah, Akhenaten's reign was a massive shock to the system. He essentially outlawed the worship of the traditional pantheon, including Amun, and established a monotheistic religion.
Right, the sole god he forced the empire to worship was the Aten.
But the Aten isn't a new concept. The Aten is just the physical solar disk itself. Akhenaten stripped away the falcon head, he stripped away the mythology of the underworld, but he kept the core mechanism, the radiant power of the sun.
Even when trying to completely reinvent human spirituality, the reliance on solar power dictated the terms of the new religion.
The cultural transmission of that solar power is incredibly resilient. When the Greeks and Romans interacted with Egypt, they saw reflections of their own solar deities.
Like Helios and Apollo.
Yeah, and they adapted the iconography of the sun chariot and the radiant crown. Which brings us to how Ra affects current society right now in the modern world.
The echoes are literally everywhere.
They are. Ra's imagery, the sun disk, the falcon, the Eye of Ra is deeply embedded in modern neo-pagan practices. There is a massive global movement of New Age solar spirituality that focuses on harnessing solar energy for personal empowerment, healing, and aligning with natural cycles.
And that draws a direct, unbroken line back to the priests of Heliopolis greeting the sunrise.
Ra has basically become our universal cultural shorthand for ancient radiant power in modern art, fantasy literature, and media. So what does this all mean for you, listening right now?
Well, that enduring legacy speaks to a fundamental human trait. The ancient Egyptians looked at the sky and didn't just see weather. They saw a narrative of survival. They saw order desperately battling chaos.
And that desire to find meaning, structure, and hope in the terrifying scale of the natural world is universal. Ra represents our ancestors' grandest attempt to understand the cosmos. He represents the passing of time, the delicate balance of nature, and the desperate hope that the light will always return to conquer the dark.
No matter how hostile the underworld gets, the bark of millions of years will break through the horizon.
The daily triumph of light over the void. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a different thread to pull on, going back to that myth of Isis and the snake.
Oh, the secret name.
Yeah, Ross's absolute world-building power wasn't contained in his muscles or his solar disk. It was contained entirely within a single hidden piece of knowledge, his secret name. Isis used that hidden data to extract all his power and take over the universe.
It's a profound philosophy.
And we see this 4,000-year-old fear playing out right now in the digital age. Think about our true names today, our core data, our digital identities, our private metrics, our search histories.
That's a fascinating parallel.
When massive corporations or algorithms extract that hidden data, they hold immense power over our choices, our attention, and our lives. It is the exact same ancient concept, hidden knowledge equating to absolute control. Whoever holds the data holds the throne.
Wow. Yeah, true power doesn't come from physical strength, but from knowing a thing's true nature.
So tomorrow morning, when you step outside and feel that heat hitting your face, take a second, look up at the sun, maybe not directly at it, and think about that ancient invisible bark sailing across the sky. Think about the order conquering the chaos. Thanks for diving deep with us today. Catch you next time.